Hello there. We've had our BMW i3 for 4 years now, and unfortunately it is time for it to go back. One of the first things we did when it arrived in May 2021 was invest in some custom seat covers just to try and protect the interior a bit. As it's mostly been a car that's used for commuting, we've not really used the back seats that much, although we have had them folded down to accommodate 3 dogs. Although the boot itself isn't that big, when you fold down the rear seats, there is quite a lot of space. It's down to the perception that people seem to have that the i3 is quite a small car like a Mini, but in fact it's not. It's significantly larger than a Mini or Volkswagen Up or anything like that. There's more space than you would think. One thing you do need to bear in mind though, if you are planning on carrying passengers in the rear, is that there are only 2 seats with cup holders in the middle. And the rear seat was actually pretty straightforward to get in and out for adding and removing the seat covers. So how's it held up after 4 years? I still think it's a fresh looking car. Although it's been on the market for 12 years now and they stopped making it 3 years ago, it still looks quite funky and modern. It's not what you'd call normal. It has a kind of striking quality about it, which I quite like. Even down to silly little things like the design of the front seats, which are clearly quite lightweight and quite thin, but they look cool. I also like the layout of the dashboard, but we'll come back to that later on. After we talk about one of my favourite parts of the i3 experience, the performance. This is a small city car with almost 170 horsepower, and it's pretty light, so 0 to 60 is around about 7 and a bit seconds. I'm also a big fan of the regenerative braking, so this is it breaking itself down from 60 miles an hour without me touching the brake pedal. It's just regenerating and putting energy back into the battery. Unlike my Audi Q4 e-tron, you can do one pedal driving in the i3. And although the brakes don't look particularly impressive, it's a small light car, so they work perfectly well. That lightweight makes it feel quite nimble, and the ride is quite firm, so it corners quite well, although the tyres are incredibly skinny, so you are aware of the limits of grip. The skinny tyres help with efficiency, but they also help with things like the turn circle, which is pretty tight. So for a more detailed look around, you press and hold the unlock button. It unlocks the car, the mirrors pop out, and if you keep holding it, the driver and passenger windows go down. The rear windows do not go down, so they're fixed in place. As I said before, the boot's not particularly large. It's fine for like shopping, things like that, but you're not going to take 4 people and all their luggage in this car. The front doors are long and they're pillarless, so when you drop the windows down, it makes it feel quite easy to access. The rear doors, I've seen a lot of people complaining about these. In a car park, I can see how this would be a problem if you've got small kids in a tight space, but you're best to think of it as being slightly better than a 3-door and not quite as good as a 5-door. I do like the fact that you can see the carbon fibre reinforced plastic. This is not a conventionally built car. Doors have got an unusual design on the card. The pockets are big enough to hold bottles, and there's a slot there that's kind of angled for them to sit in. has a very short and stumpy bonnet, but there is a frunk under there with enough space to store the charging cable, which saves a whole lot of hassle, and you can unlock that from a button on the key. Just have a look inside the passenger side. As I said, the doors are quite long and the windows drop right down into them out of the way, and they also open up quite wide, so that's quite a decent angle that they come out to. The front seat belts are attached to those rear doors, so you can't let people out if you've got your seatbelt on, but there is a handle to fold the front seats forward a bit to allow slightly easier access. There's not a huge amount of leg room in the back if you've got tall people in the front. One thing that people don't really notice, and it's hard to show on camera, like, well, impossible to show on camera in this lighting, you can see the carbon fibre reinforced plastic roof. It's not painted, it's just lacquered, so the roof is a kind of dark grey colour and you can see the weave. Just not on this footage. Oops. One little quirk of the car, because the rear lights are on the boot lid and that entire panel lifts up, it has to have separate lights down below. So when you open the boot, the alternative lights come on, so you never have your indicators blocked or hidden away. The ones on the boot still work as well, pointing up to the sky obviously, but now aircraft can see they've got the hazard lights on, so that's really handy. If you ever see an i3 with the boot not quite closed properly, you'll see all 4 indicators can be in operation at the same time. When you close it again, the bottom set lights go off. Nothing special about the charging situation. It does have 2 little rubber caps that are tethered on the car for pulling out, but nothing fancy. Steering wheel design is nice. It's got the blue trim that BMW used for their i-vehicles. It does have a small instrument cluster behind the steering wheel. It doesn't move with the steering wheel, it's fixed in position. But it does have useful information on it, and you can cycle through the different options by pressing the end of the stock. For example, this car has done 4.4 miles per kilowatt since it was last reset, which was the day I got it. So over the last 4 years, it's managed 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour. This one has the bigger centre screen. Smaller ones were available on some models. This is the bigger one, and it does let you split that to have the map on one half and like radio announcements or whatever on the other half. It does have the standard BMW shortcut buttons, which you can program, and when you move your finger over them, without pressing them, it shows you on the screen what they're programmed for. The HVAC controls, nice and straightforward, physical buttons. And down the centre here, we do have the iDrive controller. This is the one part that I feel hasn't aged particularly well. It'd be quite good if they'd upgrade it to a touchscreen at some point. But you can control it with the iDrive controller straightforwardly, and there are shortcut buttons on there. The basic home screen's got 3 options on it at a time, and then you can use the scroll wheel to move through the different options. And you click it down to select. There are various options. Again, it's just a scroll wheel. You can click to select the options that you want. So that's my average since I got the car, 4.4 miles per kilowatt hour and 27 miles an hour. As I said, it's mostly been a commuting car. You can check the tyre pressures once you're moving, and it does give you actual numbers, unlike my Q4, which can't do that at all. And you can go and check all your service announcements and things, which I've covered in separate videos. It does feature wireless Apple CarPlay and presumably Android Auto, but I've never tried that. So you can have your nav working either on CarPlay or on the built-in nav. And I forgot to mention there is a small glove compartment on the top there. You press a little button and it's kind of hidden in quite nicely. So as I said, I still think the interior looks pretty modern. The tech's a bit behind more modern EVs, so It doesn't have a touchscreen, it just has that scroll wheel. Which does the job perfectly well, but when I jump back into this after driving the Q4, I immediately go to touch the screen every single time, because I'm so used to touchscreen now. One thing that's never bothered me, which seems to bother a lot of reviewers, is the gear selector. Push forward to go forward, tip it back to go back, start stops there too, and then people complain about, oh, I can't get to the park button, I can't get to the park button. Just use your thumb. No fumbling about with your fingers like people seem to do in these review videos. Just press it with your damn thumb, like a normal person. And one more feature I really quite like is the pedestrian horn and noise, which sounds vaguely spaceshipy, and I'm here for that. How would I sum up 4 years of i3 ownership then? Well, for us, it was an ideal choice. It was mostly used for commuting on A roads and in city, which is perfect for 1 or 2 people in it at a time, so we don't need the back seat, so we don't need huge amount of space. The range, we regularly got 180 miles. It was meant to have a WLTP of about 185, 190, so we pretty much got the full range all year round. It's cheap to run. It's just been a great little car. If they still made the i3, we would take another one. Yeah, my wife loved it. She would take another one in a heartbeat. I do feel BMW missed an opportunity here where they could have just upgraded some bits and pieces, put slightly newer tech in, improved the charging speed and put a bigger battery in, and there's plenty of life left in the platform for this car. Even as it is, I know the 50 kilowatt max charging speed isn't a lot, but the battery is only about 40 kilowatts, so it doesn't actually take that long to get back up to 80% to get yourself on your way. Plus, above 80%, it still drew a reasonable amount of charge. It didn't completely tail off until above 90%. Market value for these is actually not that great now, so as a second-hand buy, this would make a cracking little car. Unfortunately, I'm not in the position to need or be able to afford one, so it's goodbye for now. Sad to see it leave, but I am excited for what's coming next. I'll do a follow-up video on that later on. Right, that's all I've got for you in this video. Remember to like and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.